Hey guys, back from a little break, so let's get right into it. I've been talking to a guy who's also watching the channel and who happens to be an engineer, so he helped me develop a short test. I was always interested in what are actual drag values in ACC, so how much drag does the car actually produce at given ride heights? So we designed a test where we could test exactly that. What we're going to do is go to Monza, go to the main straight in a hot lap session, so we have very controlled environment. All the settings are visible up here and in the video later, of course. And what we're doing is we're making a coast down test from 200 kilometers down to 150. Therefore, we need a manual clutch, else we can't deploy the clutch on the straight at a certain point, and we will have the engine brake interfering, and we don't want that because it skews our data. And what we then do is go through the whole range of possible ride height combinations. We try to leave the rear wing out for now, that's why we put the rear wing to 0 and the brake ducts to 1. Ideally, we'd have to make this for all rear wing settings, all brake duct settings, just to see how drag changes with those. And also, we of course have to do it for all cars, and everything else is empty. I only did it, or I only started it for the Ferrari, and I really want to try to make this a community project, so it's about you helping produce that data, which is why I run you through the mechanics of that test. Since I recorded that video a couple times already, I hope I am now way more efficient. So what we do is go to ACC, and I hope this time it will actually work. What we will do is go to the garage. I put the setup link as well in the description, so you just go and load the drag test setup for the Ferrari, reconfirm that the rear wing is actually 0 and the brake ducts are on 1, as well as the telemetry is on. That's the important bit. The tires are untouched, everything else in hydraulics is untouched, and everything else is in the hot lap setting, 12 IM, optimum settings, clear, no dynamic track, and make sure the clutch is on manual, else you can't do it. And then, now we have to start up the car on our own, and actually need to start with the clutch, engage the clutch, first gear, and let's get going. What I also do is, just to mark the data, I now just press the clutch once on the back straight, so we can find this later in the data and we actually know which run we are having in Motec later on. We don't have to care for the tires on this lap because they will reset when we go over the start finish line. Speed up to 200 and something, say 205, 6. Go over the line, press the clutch, and now just do nothing except keeping the steering wheel straight, keeping the clutch pushed down off the throttle of the brake, and just wait until we go below 150, which we did right now. And just because the way how ACC produces the telemetry file, we actually have to do the first run twice and the last run twice, else we won't have that data. So start again the engine, don't change any settings yet, just for the next run. Make the car drive, again we will mark the data, press it fully once, release slowly the clutch, and that way I can separate it. Oh, the car is a bit difficult to drive right now because of the, well, aerodynamic settings. 205 I said, go over the line, engage the clutch, and now we just coast until we're below 150. And once we go back to the garage, we'll have produced a Motec file from which we can read certain information. So let's go back to the garage, and this is done for now in the game, and the next step would be to go to the setup, to the aerodynamics, and go through the whole range of ride heights. So now we had 80 at the rear, 57 at the front, just keep that in mind, and then we go back to Motec. Let's take the actual data I just produced, not the one from before. So that will be the latest file from, yep, looks all right. That is the latest lab. And we can actually see the data marking on the lab before. And then we can also see the second attempt I started here, but we don't have yet the next lab where the data would be shown. This is how ACC telemetry file creation works, sadly. So what we're looking at is this part here where the lab starts, and we go from 200 down to 150. So let's zoom into the 200 kilometers an hour thing, and we can actually easily find the point where we go below 200, which is wherever the G along data shows some spike. That is here. Let's zoom in as much as we can, and then use the arrow key to move the cursor, and there is where the speed actually changes. So the time down here, then I just open the calculator that you won't be able to see. So I just type 1.235 seconds minus, and then I will go to the point in the data where we go below 150, so somewhere around here, somewhere there. Let's zoom in there a bit more. That's actually not the right position here, but let's live with that. And once we go below 150, which will be there, we have the next time that we need to use. So I go to my calculator, type 11.98. Oh, sorry, 11985, and I end up with 10.75 seconds that I needed to coast down from 200 to 150 with the ride height settings. What did we have? Was it 50, 57? 57 and 80 at the back. So I said in the calculator was 10.75. So I actually just reconfirmed basically that data. There will always be little differences because it's just, I think we just have 60 hertz on the speedo. So it will be tiny difference, but the overall gap, which is almost half a second from top to bottom, this is what we're looking for. So I kind of reconfirmed the data already produced, which means the way I do it is reliable. And what I want you to do now is actually choose yourself a column, mark it with a color to, well, you can do 2 columns, of course. Mark it so that nobody else is doing the same thing and we are staying efficient. And once this is marked, you go to the game, do the test. You can download all the workbook from here with the drag sheet. You can download the setup there as well. Just make sure you actually have the correct ride height settings, so the data we get is usable. You can also take yourself another car if you like, but maybe we finish the Ferrari first just to see where we end up with the data. And ideally, in the end, we will have a lot of those graphs showing us how the drag actually develops throughout the whole ride height settings that we have available. This should be it for today. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll happily assist if there are any questions regarding the method. But I think it's straightforward if you just follow everything in this Google Sheet, which is of course in the description, as well as the workbook setup again. I'd say this is it for now. Enjoy this, and let's see if we can find anything from the game that we didn't know before. Cheers.